English translation 329th contact. Saturday, 3rd August 2002, 08:16 hours.
You are early again, my friend. I've hardly slept a wink. But you are welcome anyway. It seems you have something of importance. Is it something regarding our General Assembly tonight? Is there anything special to say and talk about?
Greetings, dear friend Edward. No, there is nothing that needs to be said and discussed at your meeting tonight. I have already explained everything to you on the 20th of July. Why do I come here? That, dear friend, will be a pleasant surprise for you. We will now board my flying device together, and you will not be back here in your study until noon.
You make it exciting. What is the surprise?
You will see. So shall we?
Aha, here we are. It is good to be this high up in a ship again. But what now?
Let me surprise you. Just a moment.
Man, you are rushing outside and there is the moon already. What are you going to do?
Patience, friend Edward, patience.
You easily say that. Hovering there behind the satellite is your great spacer. So that is our goal. Nice to see the vehicle up close again.
It is our goal.
Then just straight into the box. But what am I supposed to do? Do you want to make a trip with me? Is it finally time to undertake the journey to Simya, say, Nera and Asket? Yes, I guess it will be. I am really looking forward to finally seeing the girls again and exchanging a few words with them.
You are mistaken, my friend. This journey promised to you is not yet due. The surprise is of a different kind than you think. So there we are. Let us not get held up by a long walk, but let us beam straight to the place where your surprise awaits. Come, and here we are, my friend. These humans here, Edward, are all here for you. Some you know, Turs, Sana, Izados, Electra, and Ektal. This is Melkora, and this is Urlana, both in the post of Aaron spiritual leaders. Her companion is Jaspan, and he is an Aaron spiritual leader.
It is a great pleasure to see you again, Sana, Electra, Izados, Turs, and Ektal. Greetings and hugs to all of you.
You are very touched, dear friend. But so are we all. It is a great pleasure to welcome you once again.
Electra speaks for all of us. Sana, I second that, dear Billy. May I call you that?
I have no objection to that, for that name has become a part of myself.
For my part, I would like to stick with your name, Edward, if that pleases you.
Naturally. I also think that this name is more comfortable for you to pronounce.
That is indeed the case.
For me, I join Izados.
We would all like to talk to you in a very private wise, if you feel the same need. But only after everything that needs to be done is done.
It will of course be my pleasure and honor. But now, I think that I should behave decently, and turn my attention to you three, Melkora, Urlana, and Jaspan. Please excuse me for first turning to my old friends and greeting them, because somehow it moved me so much that I had to hug and greet them first.
You do not need an excuse, because your behavior is of course no mistreatment and no indecency, but a natural act of solidarity with your friends. So your actions need no objection, but our approval. Edward, I too want to call you by that name. Be welcome and greeted here with us.
Edward, it is an extraordinary honor for us to meet you and to pay our respects to you.
I can only join Alana and Jaspan's words and welcome you in love and greet you. let us also embrace you.
You are all so loving and so solemn. What crime have I committed that you show me this love and solemnity?
Why would you have done something? I do not understand.
This is just a saying with Edouard when he inquires about something that is done to him or against or for him and that he cannot explain.
So this is how the meaning of the words is to be understood. Unfortunately, this manner of speaking is foreign to us, and surely some more such ambiguities or even misunderstandings will arise in our future conversation. But to answer your question, we have the gratitude and dignified honor to convey to you in reverence of all our spiritual leadership. This is our three's task and great honor. However, we will give you this thanks and honor when we talk to you about certain questions we would like you to answer.
It is not understandable to me why I should receive thanks and honor from you.
It is about your work.
What do you mean?
You really do not understand what we are talking about. Have you already forgotten that you have taken on the immeasurably great work for our spiritual leadership, which took up so much of your time for almost 3 months that you were hardly able to do any other work, and you were also unable to do the usual correction work with the group members, as Tor told us. In this regard, we would also like to thank all group members for having shown the necessary understanding and willingness.
Oh, I see, that is what this is about. But please do not make a fuss about it.
Now what is the meaning of these words?
Excuse me, let me explain. My friend, the meaning of his words corresponds entirely to his modesty, for he makes it clear that you should not make a fuss about the work he has done, because he takes it for granted and never seeks thanks.
But we are entrusted with the task of our spiritual leadership to convey the thanks and the worthy honor in.
Please, Jaspan, do not bother, because I understand what you are saying. Even if it is not very pleasant for me, I will pay attention and listen to your words. But may I know the meaning of your names?
There is no mystery attached to that. Melchora means the Queen of Light, the name Jaspan means like a jewel, and my name means the Fearless One.
I see, that is the impression you are giving. Thank you for your comments. But now I would like to inquire, in all decency, who are those other 9 humans sitting so quietly back there, listening attentively to our conversation?
They are observers and rapporteurs because they will report on our meeting in official form to the entire Aran population.
I see. Then they are, so to speak, journalists or reporters.
That is correct.
So be it. But I wonder if it is really worth making such a gathering because of yours truly. Hello, you humans back there. Allow me to tell you it is my pleasure and honor to welcome you. You are most welcome. Reporters, a 9-fold greeting of female and male voices is heard, whereby the hands are also raised to the left side of the chest for greeting, and a slight bow is made, whereby I naturally follow the familiar greeting gesture.
We have discussed that during the following hour, we will have private conversations with you, after which you will please devote yourself to talking with the emissaries of the spiritual leadership.
Your resolution is an instruction to me, so be it as your agreement. Boy, do I talk swollen. I'm almost embarrassed. Your company is very quickly reshaping me each time, and afterwards I have trouble using the Earthling's manner of speaking again.
But it is much easier for you to adapt to our way of expression than we can do it the other way round. Somehow, this is the impression I get. You must have developed a special ability to adapt to other manners of expression very quickly. I have also noticed that you speak a pleasant and sophisticated language.
I can only agree with that. It is always a special pleasure to read any of your work you have sent us through Ptah. Sena, please let us just move on to our conversation.
The reporters back there. Do they speak German like you all, or do they wear language converters like Urlana, Jaspan, and Melkora? Where did the other two go anyway?
They have gone to Tar's private chambers, where you will later have your conversation.
Aha, well, so be it. And where do we talk?
We agreed to go out to the Palm Garden, if that is okay with you.
Of course. I remember there was a little lake there from which a salty smell came out that was very invigorating to me. There was also a refreshing breeze blowing. Then let us go.
There you are, Edward, my friend. Melchora, Jaspan, and Urlana are waiting for you. Where are your friends?
We have already said our goodbyes. It was a very special experience for me to meet them all here in your great spacer. We had a very animated conversation on a rather confidential basis. Ah, here we are. If you allow me, I will sit here opposite you.
It is your will. Then Melkora, Urlana, and Jaspan would like to first fulfill their mission to you, as assigned by our spiritual leadership, to have the conversation with you. As with your friends, however, the reporters will be present only at the official talk, after which they will leave when private confidential matters are raised. So may you begin, Melkora.
And there they go. I may never see them again. You can hardly see me with the words Ptah. In fact, it was something very special. Something very special to be able to have a conversation with these three humans. It was effectively as special as it always is with you and all of you. But it had a special nuance that I cannot explain. Maybe it is because these three humans think of me as well. What can I say?
They see you, as we all do, for what you truly are.
You may understand what I mean and want to say. But I do not have the words to do so.
Actually, I understand very well what moves you. But let us talk about other things now, and so bring up your questions that you still have, as you told me. Our conversation will also distract you from your heavy thoughts and feelings, which move you a lot regarding your new friends. As far as my time is concerned, there is no hurry either, because I have prepared myself to bring you back to the center at noon.
Thanks. Then I want to bring up my questions. On the 13th of May 1996 and the 24th of August 1998, you stated in regard to the crop circles and crop circle pictograms, respectively, that extraterrestrial forces were involved. In the course of your clarifications, however, according to your statements of the 20th of July, that is to say 14 days ago, it has now turned out that these are not extraterrestrials in the sense of life forms or humans, but extraterrestrial energies, namely evolutionary energies. I have not received any explanation from you. I mean in regard to why you assumed that extraterrestrial life forms would participate in the creation of the crop circles, and therefore would have their fingers in the pie as well as the Earth humans. Could you give me an explanation of this afterwards?
It is not a secret. So listen, as you know, we, like you, have always known that Earth humans are behind the making of crop circles. Through Quetzal, you were also given the opportunity to observe these earthly human machinations. Now it turned out, however, that since the 80s we observed again and again strange, apparently extraterrestrial flying objects, as we assumed, with and in the vicinity of the crop circle pictograms, which has been preserved until today, whereby we have now gained the knowledge that these are not actual extraterrestrial flying objects, but flying objects belonging to the Earth. Of course, we were interested in what was going on there. But due to our extensive tasks, we could not personally seek detailed observations and clarifications. So we set a very small stationary observation probe at high altitude, which was equipped with all the necessary research possibilities. But this did not happen until spring of this year. That is to say, a few months ago, although up to then we were still of the opinion that the movements recorded by our registration equipment were extraterrestrial flying objects and would have a direct or indirect connection with the crop circles. Soon it turned out, however, that this was not the case, but that these alien flying objects only had a fraudulent function, a fact that quite obviously was only due to the interest of crop circle believers, who, as we now know, do not come from a different space-time structure, and thus also not from one that originates from Earth's future. And as no influence of these objects could be detected, another small probe was set, which records and analyses fine matter swinging waves and thus fine matter energies. In this case, our scientists used your formulas from the storage banks of Henoch and Nocodemion, which you left to us, and through which they were able to make the fine matter energy probe, through which distinct and therefore very powerful evolutive energies could be registered, which are oriented towards the performing arts, that is to say, towards a knowledgeable and active mastery of the representation of great artistic works. In this form, the mentioned evolutive energies work in the direction of monumental art, consequently only very large art objects, like the crop circle pictograms, which have a decisive size, as determined by the evolutive energies of the mentioned form, as we could find out according to the Henoch formulas and Nocodemian formulas. Now humans who are sensitive to these energies are busy, according to the determination of the evolutive energies of the mentioned kind, and work in drawing and on computers in the creation and design of artistic structures and drawings as well as exact masses, which are then transferred into the cornfields and meadows, etc., by treading, stamping, and rolling, or with other aids. In this wise and by the mentioned origin, thus the crop circle pictograms are created. These evolutionary energies, that still has to be explained, refer, as you know very well, to every development of humans and every other form of life in the whole universe, and since the very beginning of the first life form that came into existence, they have had a specific effect on every genus and type of all forms of life. Thereby it is explained that therefore all evolution of every form, through the evolutionary energies of universal, respectively, creational origin is impulsively steered by a predetermined striving for something higher, whereby the conscious human being is, however, free in will to direct and behave accordingly and therefore to follow the impulses of free will or not, as you do in a very precisely defined spiritual teaching work for us, and I would like to repeat it here as an explanation, since you will write down my explanations as a contact conversation and make them accessible to the Earth humans. This will certainly cause uproar in some Earth humans, as there is a widespread opinion that extraterrestrial beings are actually behind the making of the crop circles, but according to our extensive investigations, this is actually not the case, as everything can be traced back to Earth human machinations, whereby, however, as explained, cosmic or universal, creative evolutionary energies are the triggering factor and the true origin.
That is right, yes. But what about you contacting future ones from Earth? Have you contacted any, or will you do so at all? And finally, I would like to know whether they are the same future pilots who have been seen, observed, filmed, and photographed in various forms all over the world for years. Is it possible to get more detailed information about this, or is the whole thing secret?
It is not classified as a secret. No, we have not made contact and will not do so because our directives do not allow us to do so.
But these are Earth humans of the future, who are already quite sophisticated.
The development of that form does not matter. because the directives also determine other conditions, such as the fact that a people's or a human race may no longer be subject to warlike actions, which is not the case with the future human beings, as you call them.
I see. So then at least these future generations still play warriors. It is a pity, a real pity. But let us go on to my next question, which refers to the so-called Feng Shui of Chinese origin. What do you think about it? In my opinion, there is nothing to be said about the traditional view that Feng Shui uses life and natural energies. According to my knowledge, this erroneous view must be demystified, because the whole thing has nothing to do with an allegedly inflowing life energy, but only with a self-generated feeling of well-being and sympathy of the person by designing rooms and their contents as well as their environment in such a wise that a feeling of well-being and sympathy is created in him or her, namely by their own personal thoughts and the resulting feelings. The whole thing has nothing to do with harmony with the energy of nature, etc., as has been claimed since ancient times, due to the lack of understanding of human thoughts, feelings, and the psyche, as well as consciousness and its energies and powers. In fact, the feeling of well-being and the sympathetic movements as well as the harmony that manifest themselves in human beings are exclusively due to the manner in which they see things, and to the manner they are arranged and designed according to their own understanding of harmony. Thus, Feng Shui is solely a psychological matter, which functions according to the personality, the understanding of harmony, the character and the feeling of beauty, etc. of the individual human being, without any role being played by alleged energies of nature and the harmony with them. This corresponds to reality, but not the claim regarding Feng Shui, because every feeling of well-being, every harmony as well as every sympathy, every joy and joie de vivre, the inner and outer peace, the inner freedom, contentment, balance and love arise from the human being himself or herself, as well as everything to the contrary, such as disharmony, antipathy, joylessness, life-weariness, inner and outer discord, inner unfreedom, lack of love, imbalance, and dissatisfaction. And all of this arises from the thoughts and feelings of humans, which they create and control themselves.
There is probably nothing more to say about this, because your explanation surpasses what I actually wanted to explain.
Thank you for your kindness. Apparently, until you agree with me.
Your explanation corresponds to my knowledge of the reality of Feng Shui.
Have you followed up on the Holocaust lawsuits in recent years? Where an American attorney sued Swiss Financial Services with regard to Jewish funds that were moved to Switzerland before and during World War II. And what do you think about the inglorious role of the night watchman Meili, who unlawfully snatched old documents about Jewish funds in a bank and sold them to a Jewish organization for a later fee of a few $100,000, after which he emigrated to America, also with the help of the American lawyer Fagin, as he calls himself, who also involved companies in his litigation, which brought in about 2 or 2.5 billion 2,500,000 francs or dollars for the Jewish claims. And are you also informed that in Europe, too, the catastrophic and criminal American law of product liability is becoming more and more widespread, and that therefore million-dollar lawsuits for all kinds of nonsense and idiocy are becoming more and more the order of the day, along with million-dollar lawsuits from surviving relatives whose relatives lost their lives due to any circumstances, such as airplane crashes, avalanches, canyoning, shipping disasters, railway accidents, etc., etc. For my part, I think it is a disgrace that Switzerland, as a constitutional state, should get involved in such machinations and thereby offer the American justice system a hand to extort huge sums of money from Swiss companies and the Swiss state. What I find even worse, however, is the fact that the bereaved families of the dead in any kind of disaster want to enrich themselves by suing those who own the planes, the railways, the buses, the avalanche sites, the ferries, the ships, or simply the companies, etc. It borders on an absolute insolence, indecency, dishonor, presumption, and disgracefulness towards the dead, to enrich oneself by their death.
In fact, this whole dreadful state of affairs must be termed a disgrace. There is such dishonor and valuelessness in everything that one can only speak of a complete depravity of those humans who indulge in such dishonorable and undignified, shameful machinations either for profit, thoughtlessly, unscrupulously, consciencelessly, or even criminally, in order to enrich themselves through the dead or to profit from their financial means and their possessions through some third party with flimsy arguments and accusations, etc. Such actions are human unworthy and require a legal prohibition with strict measures in case of an infringement.
Your word in the responsible ear, although it is certain that they suffer from deafness, or have robberies or other sausages in them, and so will not hear or want to hear anything. But something else. Tremper Pauli, that is to say, Pope John Paul II, is traveling to various countries for the 94th or 96th time at the expense of the Catholic faithful, which, of course, costs millions of dollars with all the pomp and circumstance. It is probably only a matter of keeping the sheep together and winning new sheep, and of course of ensuring that the flow of money from the faithful does not dry up for the Pope and the Catholic Church. Much worse, of course, are the sectarians, too, but in a much more extensive form, for they do not shrink from financially exploiting their faithful and other followers and supporters to the letter, and even often driving them to suicide, as has been the case time and again in recent years and decades, with unbelievable lies and deceits that could not be blacker and more malicious. But back to Tramper Pirli. What do you think about the way he still goes on sheep preserving and sheep catching as well as Scherflein hustling in his condition? Somehow I find the whole thing presumptuous and impertinent, a real shame and extremely shameful.
You speak to my sense. The whole thing is immoral and disgusting. And all this just to bind the faithful to the Catholic Church. No further comment is necessary.
It is getting late. I should be getting back to the center. But before we go, I would like to ask you if you could find some notes from Svath's estate that he collected from my early literary outpourings. You said that there was still some left, and that you would bring or transmit everything to me.
In fact, some things have come to light even from later times that were kept by Asket, my friend. When I get an opportunity, I will transmit it all to you.
One more question. For years, Quetzal's predictions have fulfilled themselves in respect to the natural catastrophes, as in regard to the violent forest fires in America, Europe, Australia, and Russia now, but also relating to the monstrous storms with rain, hail, snow and floodwaters, hurricanes and volcanic eruptions. The prophecies also speak of this. And here I want to know how long that actually will still continue, and whether the phrase 50% of all of it is the fault of the humans is still right. And whether the rolling fires that presently blaze in America are identical with those named in the prophecies.
The percentage rate of fault attributed to the Earth human for all the catastrophes has remained the same since Quetzal's prophecies. However, it will still climb somewhat in the future if the destruction of the environment is indeed not yet ordered to stop through effective reason. But the time during which the catastrophes still keep up and even increase runs yet far into the future. The raging rolling fire in the USA in regard to the burning forest you have mentioned corresponds, as a matter of fact, to the statements of the prophecies, yet they establish only a part of that there. Because in the more distant time, a still much worse fire will rage that will move there across the United States and leads back to an origin of an act of war. The storms over the entire world will degenerate to such an extent that from now on, damage in billions of Swiss francs will come about in worldwide form, and also many humans will lose their lives. Naturally, also quiet pauses will also occur between, yet these would only be what you call the calm before the storm.
And the wildfires of global form that are raging right now, what causes them?
On the one hand, by natural processes such as lightning or by a burning glass effect, but often by conscious or negligent arson of unscrupulous or careless and inattentive humans.
What do you mean by a burning glass effect? Are you referring to the natural process that occurs when a drop of rain or dew is exposed to the sun's rays at a certain angle and produces a highly concentrated hot ray, which ignites dry material, just like you can do with a burning glass, a magnifying glass, or simply a glass with a thickened area, etc.?
That is the meaning of my explanation.
Then, one last question. What do you think about extreme sports practiced by the humans of Earth? Or what do you think about such humans?
We have already talked about that. But I would like to say the following. Humans who indulge in such life-threatening activities suffer from a morbid adrenaline addiction, which impairs all clear reason and triggers uncontrollable, life-despising thoughts, and a surge of a life-threatening high feeling, whereby all control is lost, as well as the recognition of the danger to life. Humans who practice extreme sports therefore suffer from a dangerous illness, which nips any thought of responsibility and any feeling of responsibility towards life in the bud. There is a lack of any reason and of recognition of the danger to life, whereby those who practice such sports also trivialize their life-threatening doings and actions, and all reasonable objections to them are dismissed by ridicule. The whole thing shows, then, that those humans who succumb to such actions are neither viable, worthy of life, nor responsible for life.
Thanks for your explanation. Now I have actually asked all the questions, except one, which is still on the tip of my tongue, but whose answer I know, but for which I would still like to have an answer from you. It is the indecency of some humans on Earth, who take it upon themselves to stick out their tongue at every suitable and unsuitable opportunity to offend other humans. One of the best-known examples of this, which has gone down in history, is Albert Einstein.
The sticking out of the tongue towards other humans is indeed a reprehensible indecency, since it means nothing else than that the person to whom the tongue is being stuck out should lick the anus of the person who is sticking out the tongue.
Now, let me get this straight. Can all those who insult other humans in this way blame themselves? I find that a person who does this also has a temperament and an attitude with regard to himself.
Which you are probably right about. But if you are not too tired, then I would like to ask you some more questions.
Of course you can ask. I can sleep for an hour or two. I can sleep later.
My questions are about matters that should not be mentioned officially. I also have some explanations that are important for you but not for other humans.
So be it. Then get on with it, my friend.